Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Gooner Gathering. We're here for a special update on the ladies' side. And I'm here, Gooner Lee Meads, joined by Matt Roberts. How are you, Matt? You okay?
I'm good, thank you. How are you after everything that's gone on?
Mate, I'm doing okay. I'm definitely not stressed about a second time that I'm having to record this. And everything's going absolutely smoothly and wonderful. Thankfully, all over the nastiness of last week, and I'm back to fronting the channel, and I'm excited to talk about some ladies news. So we'll jump straight into it, shall we, Matt?
Yeah, sounds good.
Absolutely, let's do it. So, lead story of tonight, of course, is the news coming out of Man United. The Alicia Russo is going to be leaving Man United, and it has been widely reported that she is going to join Arsenal. She'll be a free contract because her contract has expired at Man United. If you remember, back in January, Arsenal put an inquiry in for, I think it would have been a world record fee, if I remember rightly. It would be in excess of about £1 million. That was turned back. She played on for the season at United, and of course, she had a very good season at United. So this looks like this could potentially happen. What sort of difference would Russo have made in the Arsenal ladies' side last season from January? And what does it mean for Arsenal's prospects for next season?
I think first and foremost, Alessia Russo, for those that don't know, she's 24 years old, England international. She scored 10 goals in WSL this season alone. So for those that haven't seen her before, she is I would almost say she's a similar player to Stina Blackstenius, but she is better aerially. She'll S onto the end of those balls. She's better. She's not just quick on her feet. The famous goal against Sweden in the semi-finals, for example, even though she jokingly says that she didn't mean it, but and that she should have buried that for the first chance. But it all matters, and that's the type of player that we're getting. We're seeing a player that can press high, a player that's willing to be a fox in the box, a player that's such a aerial threat that she can pretty much dismantle teams by herself. In some way, if you're looking at this player, I think a lot of players and teams would be looking at her and saying, you know what, I'd love to play with a player like her. You'd hate to be playing against her because of how she plays. She's so effective, and even if she's not scoring goals, she's setting up the goals. So very similar to what Viv is doing at the moment before her injury, where she was setting up or she was scoring the goals. But she's more of a striker. She likes to play as a striker, and she's going to be very complementary to this team. If I have to mention if, because it's not all done deal. Anything can happen. We could end up hearing that Barcelona are interested. We could hear that Real Madrid are interested. These sorts of things happen. But I think her heart is made up because of that move that Arsenal did in the January window. The fact that Arsenal was so willing to part with such a huge amount, it would have been a world record, £1 million.
Yeah.
Considering it would have been going into her last 6 months as well, it's huge. And Alessia Russo is a great player. If you don't get the chance to see any of the recent games, England will have a friendly coming up on the 1st of July, I believe, against Portugal at Milton Keynes. That will be shown on, I believe, ITV. But these are the sort of games where you can sort of understand what she's like. We've got the World Cup to look forward to as well, and she's going to be a huge part of it. As things stand, she is the number 9, and she's going to be leading that line.
In the absence, of course, of Beth Mead, who's a fully signed up member of the ACL club. But with potentially Russo joining Arsenal, it means that we'll have an absolute top quality number 9 striker here. Now, what would that mean in terms of Mead and Miedemar? What do you think?
For this to work, so for Beth plays on the right wing. She's also very versatile. She can swap places, like a couple of times last season. She would swap with Caitlin Ford or whoever's on the left. If it was Katie McKay, for example, she's able to do that. Whereas, so it would be more of that England link up that we'd see where Beth would be on the right, Alessia Russo would be in the middle, and it might be a case where we might see, maybe not this season, maybe towards the end of the season, we'll see it a little bit more, that this spark will start, and that England link-up play will come into effect. Viv's now steps more into the attacking midfielder sort of role now, which means that it also is a huge relief off her shoulders. She, a couple of seasons ago, she was the goal scorer. She was the main person. She scored 22 goals, still the WSL record joint now with, funny enough, Rachel Daly at the moment. But in that time, Viv never took any penalties. So it's still a huge thing. I think Viv will actually enjoy it a lot more. It's not just going to be someone else to broaden the attacking options. It's something that could potentially cause a lot of issues. For example, playing against Chelsea next season, they see Stina playing up front. Come the 60th minute, Stina goes off, and then Alessia Russo comes on for the last half an hour. That Chelsea defence will not want to face against Alessia Russo and all those other players come the last 30 minutes of that game.
Yeah, certainly an exciting prospect. That's for certain. We move on. For obviously it's come out on the Arsenal website today. There's the official people that have been retained in the squads. There's certain names that have been released as well. I'll cover the ladies' side now. And when I talk to Posh Bertie live, which would have gone out live at 7:00, so watch back on that live stream later on if you haven't already seen it. So there's three ladies that have been released from their contracts. First up, let's talk about Mana Abuchi, who was very much an attacking player who, when I started watching the ladies team, absolutely transparent with you, mate, I thought she was fantastic. And she was a very exciting player to watch. And it really surprised me to see her leave Arsenal in January to go to Tottenham. It's probably fair to say that loan spell didn't exactly go to plan, but she's officially been released from her contract now. Your thoughts on Abuchi and her time at Arsenal?
Yes, this is one of the problems, is that when you essentially, before she signed, she was a signing by the previous manager, Joe Montemiro, who is now at Juventus.
Yeah.
The plan was that he was going to, along with her, Nikita Paris, and I can't remember the other. Simone Boy at the time.
Yeah.
They were going to be the players that are going to help Arsenal. Unfortunately, Jonas came in because Joe decided that he had enough, and it was kind of a mutual kind of agreement. If I'm honest, both of them decided that they needed to move on. Unfortunately, these deals that were done, Manu Abuchi was one of them. Nikita Paris ended up going to Man United at the start of this season, and Simone Boyle decided to go back to Denmark, and it happens. I've got some very fond memories of Manu Abuchi from scoring that rocket against PSV in the qualifying rounds of the Champions League. She scored a fantastic goal in the first game that I actually went to against Aston Villa, oddly enough, her old team, but where we signed her from, with a lovely little flick on, as well as the amazing goal in the FA Cup, not quarter final against Tottenham, where she nutmegged two goalkeepers, two other defenders.
You can't do that.
Just like Chelsea, they're signing for another couple of goalkeepers at the moment. But no, we're here to talk. Manu Abuchi.
We could get into that if you like. I know exactly who you're talking about.
She nutmegged one player, and then she nutmegged another on, and just hit the ball top corner, and it was a fantastic goal. Manu Abuchi is a very technical again, I've seen it again. Look at technical player, attacking wise, she's brilliant. She could play either on the wings, or she could play in those central areas, almost like an attacking midfielder. But she, unfortunately, it just didn't seem to happen, and it was a real shame. I really hope wherever she goes next that she'll be playing with confidence. And I think that was one of the issues, is that we thought that her going to Tottenham was going to be something that was going to reignite her career, as to speak. And unfortunately, she's now missed out on a place in her World Cups for Japan.
Right.
But it's just one of those things where you would have thought Manu Iwabuchi, Beth England, both of them playing off each other, and that will keep you in. Well, Tottenham, that would have kept them up. Unfortunately, well, they still managed to keep
It
up.
did survive, didn't they?
But it was mainly down to Beth England, but they weren't utilising Manu Iwabuchi. And if I'm honest, as much as a lot of people might not know this, Manu Iwabuchi is a good friend of Viv Miedema, as well as a few of the other teams. I think a lot of them will probably have their goodbyes behind closed doors, but she will be missed. She was a lovely player, don't get that wrong. Just fortunately, just the player and the manager just didn't click, and it wasn't able to go. And it happens. And I'm hoping that wherever she ends up next, it's going to be the one that helps her reignite her form a little bit.
Thank you very much, sir. So I think you've got goalkeepers on the brain, and I think I know exactly who you're talking about. So would you like to talk about Hannah Hampton leaving Aston Villa? I know her contract's expiring and she's expected to join Chelsea. Do you want to talk about Hannah briefly?
So, oddly enough...
You're impressed, aren't you? You're impressed, I know this.
Hannah Hampton has been... She's had a really strange season. She's been very off and on with Aston Villa. At times, she was being told to stay away from the team. And then someone was thinking... There was some rumours going around whether or not she was going to stay at the club at the end of the season. Her contract was running out. Was she looking at her options? And for me, had we have not signed Sabrina, I think she would have been perfect number 2 to come in and take that shirt as Manu has got a year left on her contract now with her extension, which is great to see. But we've got Sabrina, and that we've got 2 competitive goalkeepers, got both going for that number 1 shirt, and 2 different goalkeepers in styles. Sabrina likes to come for the crosses. Manu likes to stay on a line. They both like to play out from the back, and they are really impressive. But it's really odd that Hannah Hampton has chosen to go to Chelsea when there's nowhere for her to go. Just to put this into context, Chelsea have recently brought another goalkeeper who's the Belgium number 1. They've got the Sweden number 1 in Musovic. They've got the German number 1 in Katrine Berger as well. So it seems a bit bizarre. You don't need more goalkeepers unless you're deciding to put all 4 of them in goal at once, which that's not going to happen. Exactly. It's just one of those things where I don't see why you'd go somewhere where you're not really going to be involved as much. I'm sure there would have been a lot of better places she could have gone. But if she does end up at Chelsea, all the best to her. But she's going to end up most of the time being sent out on loan. So it'll be interesting to see where she goes out on loan. That's more important. There's a few other players from Chelsea as well that will probably end up seeing out on loan. Some of them really impressed, actually. Aggie Beebe-Jones was at Everton, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not she's going to be put into the mix, or that she'll be told that she needs to move on. But I try not to talk too much about other things at the moment. We'll try and focus on Arsenal.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. No, I thought it was right to mention. Of course, it's all speculation at the moment. Nothing actually signed yet with Hannah Hampton. Let's move on to something we've already spoken about on the channel, in Rafaela Souza, the centre half, who obviously on that list that was released officially on the Arsenal website today, has officially gone. Leaves us very short in centre halves, as you know, with Leah Williamson still injured on another fully paid member of the ACL club, and basically leaves us with Lotta. and that's about it. A lot of Ruben Moore. Do you know what? I might even have a picture of her still on the back. I have. There she is. There she is. I remember I put that in there now. There you go. So that's basically our centre half for the season coming up. It's a massive loss to lose a player like Sousa, but are there any talks of anyone coming in to replace her? And how well did she do at the time at Arsenal in her partnership with Williamson?
I think the heartbreaking thing for a lot of people is the fact that both Leah and Rafaela have had so many injuries between both of them that they haven't spent so much together. I do remember when they did the post conference for the finalismo, both Leah and Rafa being captains of England and Brazil respectively.
Yep.
They were there and they basically just sat there and complimented each other for the entire of that conference, and it was so interesting. But the fact you've got a left-footed centre back is very rare in the first place. But to have a world-class international left back, centre back even.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
It's so hard to find someone that's at that level. There's talks of a lot of it's not just the one centre back we could be losing. Just to put it on the play, Anna Patton, her contract is still up in the air. We don't know what's happening with that. We still don't know what's happening with Jem Beattie. So essentially, you could be looking at just Lotte Wubben-Moy as the only centre back at the moment, and then having to possibly play Steph Catley as the only other option at the moment would be having someone like Casey Reed, who was really impressive for England in their under-17 Euros, getting all the way to the semi-final. Unfortunately, Spain won that game 3-1, but Casey Reed was the one that scored the England equaliser at the time, and it was a real shame because but I think there's a lot of options. There's options going to the market. One of the players that we are looking at is Viggo Sottir of Iceland and Bayern Munich. So again, we're repeating the same old cycle of, we played them in the Champions League, now we need one of their players. So I'm quite interested to see what happens, but I think centre back will be definitely one position that we're looking at on top of everything else. The other, I believe, the other defender that we have been linked with is Pau Thomas, who is of Levante, but she's more of a right back, so that's more cover for Laura Weinreiter, another member of the ACL club, but she also can play on that left. So again, it's versatility in our ranks again.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so moving away from transfers just for a moment, there was something that was announced on the website, or certainly on Twitter, which caught my eye, and this is something that you can talk about much more eloquently, I'm pretty sure, than I could do. And this is very well known Arsenal ladies supporter Maria Petri, is it?
Yeah.
This cover of the program was announced as the program cover of the year, where unfortunately Maria passed away, and obviously she's very, very well known with the fan base and particularly her interactions with some of the players as well. I certainly can recall a video with her and Beth Mead that was wandering around Twitter. What did Maria mean to the Arsenal fans and to the players, and the impact that she would have had on the atmosphere of the games?
So I think the best way to describe Maria is the ultimate super fan. She was there. She was making notes. She was mainly to get new songs into it. She did a lovely piece for the Champions League as well. If you haven't seen that, I'm sure DAZN still have that on their YouTube channel, where she talks about her time and gives a little bit of her chant of Vivianne Miedema as well. So she was the ultimate fan, and that the fact that she used to go home and away. She would also do the youth academy games. She was always there. The players knew her very well. They were always stopping to have a chat, and they just really enjoyed that, and it's at the same time because of the fact that she died just during the Euros was going on. She never got to see that, and I think we're seeing now that there's going to be there's been responses to that. So, for example, for those that don't know, Arsenal have got it's a group. They say they're a group of fans. I'll keep my opinions to myself, but they basically are at every game, home and away, Europe or WSL, and they will try and make as much noise as possible, try and get the chants going. They've been a core figure for a lot of the team this season when things have gone down. For example, I'm sure we'll talk about the something else going on, but a lot of when things are going down and you're hearing that, a lot of the players have turned around and said, because of what's happening, they have been the inspiration in certain games to get us back on our feet this season. And it's a lovely little tribute that they're doing. But Maria was the ultimate one, and she was the one to be there first. And the fact that she got other people to it, the one thing that she'll always be famous for, I don't know if people know this, but there always used to be like a dead silence before kickoffs, and just before the whistle blew, all you hear is a loud shout of "Come on, you Gunners!" And it's amazing that it happens, and it's great to. I've tried to replicate it. It's sort of like ingrained in me when I go to games now, that as soon as that first whistle, just before that whistle goes, I shout, or just after the whistle goes, I shout it out. It's just come part of the natural match ritual for me. But she was a huge person, and the fact that she was on the cover as well, it just shows how much love there was for her, not just from the players, from the fans, but from the club itself, to come out and say, look, we need to make some sort of tribute. Sometimes some of these fans aren't well known as others, but all they'll get is like a obituary in one of the match day programs, and that's it. But for someone to make the match day program on the front cover as well, and to be nominated, winning it, is huge, because it just shows you how much it meant to the players, the fans, and everyone, that you've got someone who was the first. And although I don't like using the that word, that everyone else is just a cheap copy, or everyone, but people are trying to replicate what she's done and try to amplify it as much as possible.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Matt. It was really nicely put. She's a figure that's definitely going to be missed amongst the fan base, and she'll definitely won't be forgotten. That's for sure. My penultimate story, I think, we'll go to the Sweden squad for the World Cup, and the inclusion of Blackstenius and Hurting in that squad. It's probably fair to say Blackstenius had a fantastic season for Arsenal. Maybe not so much with Lisa Hurtig, but maybe you could talk about the pair of them and the impact that they could make with the Swedish national side.
So Lena Hurtig has been hit and miss, really, because of her injuries. Coming into it's a bit of difficulty for her to sort of adjust to what's been a very difficult campaign, but hopefully we'll see the best of her next season. It's a bit unfortunate, but she's been very important at times. She's been scoring goals in the Champions League in the group stages. But we didn't, towards the end there, we didn't really see a lot of her because of the injuries. We didn't know whether or not she was going to make the Sweden squad. And the fact that she may suggest that maybe perhaps she just needed that rest and recovery in order to get ready to go again. I think we haven't seen a lot of her, but we're going to see a lot. I'm hoping that there's a few other players that haven't been able to show us their full capabilities yet, and I'm sure that Lena Hurtig next season will do that. On Stina Blackstenius, the fact of the matter is that you go back through this season, she started off really well, and then it got towards that where she was hit when we were sort of struggling for goals. And I remember the game, and funny enough, again against Zurich, all she had to do was poke the ball over the goalkeeper, and instead she goes and fires it right at the goalkeeper's face. And there was other times as well, the game against West Ham that we covered as well for a chat along, where she had plenty of chances, but the ball would not go into the back of the net. And then as soon as that window closed, and it was almost like she was born anew, and she learned that, right, I've got to kick on now. And I think she realised that she had to not just do it by herself, because Frida Marnham, Bernhard and Mornham even, was doing a lot of the work. But it was really important that Stina Blackstenius stepped up, and at times the fact that we brought in Jodie Taylor as well also helped with her getting a little bit of rest and recovery, because a lot of that time she was doing 90 minutes and there was no one else to come on and help her out. And it's a huge wake-up call, because I think Sweden are going to be one of the big teams in this World Cup, and I think if they get a firing Stina, they could go probably further than they would have expected. They're Olympic gold medalists from the games in Japan over the last couple of years. So it's gonna be huge, and I think we're gonna see more and more of Stina Blackstenius next season, scoring all the goals.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Now, lastly, we'll wrap this up today by talking about Katie McCabe. And she won the Goal of the Season award just recently for a strike against Manchester City right at the back end of the season. It's a fantastic long-range shot from a set play. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, and the importance of Katie, her versatility and ability to play in pretty much anywhere you want to put her?
Casey's been huge. For those that don't know, she's captain of Ireland's national team. She has been captain of Arsenal since Leah and both Kim have been injured. So she's really stepped up, and she's really owned that captaincy when she's had it. And she is a fantastic player as well. There's a reason that she's the only goals that she does score are bangers. You're not going to see her score a tap in. And
or penalty.
No, she does score penalties, but when she scores penalties, she hits them hard and she hits them high. I've seen that against Manchester United the season before. Excuse me. But she has been fantastic, and the fact of the matter was, when we really needed a goal, and the fact that we were 1-0 down at the time, and we needed a goal, and Stina got us back into the game. All we needed was another goal, and that was basically going to be the goal that secured it. And it was a lovely little short pass from Steph Catley, and Kate McCabe just decides to go, if no one's going to press me, I'll just keep carrying on and go into the box. And she has that right into the top corner, and it's a fantastic goal. And honestly, we've had so many fantastic goals this season that it was hard to pick and choose. I could probably round up so many different goals that we've seen this season that would be potentially goal of the season. But when that's the goal that seals Champions League for you, then fair enough, that's goal of the season.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a great goal, and so like you said, it made us sort of cement our place in the Champions League qualifying stages for next season. So that's I think that's just about all we've got time for, because I need to jump on another stream in a second, mate. So I want to say a massive thank you for Matt Roberts for coming over and spending the evening with us. Would you like to tell all our viewers, they probably already know, but where can they find you on Twitter, sir?
Yeah, so my Twitter is @MattLR28.
Thank you very much. You can find me at Gooner Limage. You can find everyone on the channel at Gooner Gathering, as my phone just pinged for no reason at all. Thank you for watching this stream. We are going to be live at 7 o'clock. So if you haven't already seen that stream, go and watch it. just go on after the England match. Go on, give it a watch. And make sure you like, share, and subscribe. All right? Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you again soon. Cheers. Take care, all.